Good morning, my name is Isabella Stanke and this is my video on achievement gaps. So first and foremost, an achievement gap is the differences in success among different student groups, which is race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, and things along those lines. Some causes of an achievement gap can be some that I've seen throughout this course's week materials. Proper resources and funding is not limited, but what it is unevenly distributed. And then another one, race and ethnicity in low-income students. That is a big cause to the achievement gap. And we see that as a generational cycle. Parents who do not have proper education are not enforcing proper education for their students and kids. And just different factors that work with that as well. Having low expectations for these students, the resources and funding for them, it's very different. Some personal experiences with my own, when I worked as an ESL tutor, I witnessed firsthand how the curriculum is not built for students who are English second language learners. And even the curriculum diction, that was a huge thing, and that's where we spent a lot of our time, is just trying to figure out how these students can understand what they're learning before they can even learn the concept that is given to them. So it's a two-part process and it takes a long time, and we could by-step this by just fixing our curriculum to make sure that the diction and the way that it's made is catered to different diverse students and ESL students. So my proposed solution is a 5-step program. There are 5 steps, and the first is, as teachers, educators, and those working with students hands-on, we have to raise our expectations for all students, including race, ethnicity, minorities, and low poverty students. So the minute we start raising our expectations for these students, they themselves are going to begin hopefully raising expectations for themselves, seeing that college is possible for them and life after high school is possible, and also honing in on the intrinsic motivation part and making sure that that's our key influence. Second, begin shaping the curriculum in schools to include different cultures, and especially highlighting the ability to make sure ESL students can also understand the curriculum. As mentioned before, it is an important factor. Third, standardized testing. I think that by simply assessing the student through a standardized test is not enough. Each student learns differently, so we can't test the same. That being said, proposing that we work together as groups, do different assessments, observation, class projects, individual projects, and simply conversation too. It's always a great idea to get to know your learner. That way you can understand and better help them succeed in your course. Fourth, since a lot of students are living below the poverty line, I believe that we should begin proposing a funding for these students. That can include more school materials, which include pens, pencils, backpacks, things that these students need to succeed, as well as food, because when you are in a low poverty area, you may not know what they are dealing with their family, if they're working full-time as a student, if they're dealing with food poverty, food insecurity, things like that. Lastly, the 5th strategy is continued teacher learning. As teachers, we need to be open to the idea of learning more about curriculum, learning more as we go, since things do change, and as we can tell, things haven't changed in the last 60 years after the proposal of Brown versus Board. So that's something to consider, and that's a policy that I'm willing to create and help for teachers to gain access to more learning and how to work with students from different races and ethnicities and minorities. So some obstacles, I'm sure that there are going to be plenty of obstacles since none of this is really easy. However, to be more specific, I think that, working with different organizations like Orange County Community Foundation and Olive Crest, these are foundations in my specific area that work with educational resources and students. the obstacles will become a little bit easier. I expect that it's not going to be a fast transition. I expect that it's going to be about a 2 to 3 year process to get any of these proposals going and actually in motion, especially when receiving money from the government. Some hopeful outcomes. I mean, of course, I would love to see more students achieving, students going off to school, reaching goals and potential that the school has for them and that they have for themselves. These are all ways that I would hope to see, and I'm sure as well the community. I desire to see more of a community with these students too, not segregation. I think that that's a really big thing, and I tend to see people from different races and ethnicities kind of gather together, and I think, preaching community, we want to see everyone interact with each other, and I want everyone to feel at home. So that's a hope. I mean, everyone's human. It's not going to always happen, but that's the future hope. Ultimately, this is a proposal. This is not a set plan, however, and there's so many kinks to work out, but I do believe that when we put our mind to something, we can do it, especially as a community and especially those who are in the education system. With that in mind, I wanted to say thank you, and I appreciate your time.